today with Parker. Parker was just recently in a car accident and treating with Dr. Nelson at Concussion and Whiplash. Hi, Parker.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about what's going on with your body, your accident, and how, what's going on medically?
Absolutely. So it was 5 weeks ago today that I got in a fairly serious accident on the freeway. I ended up hitting my head several times because I had been pushed in between a couple cars at very high speeds, and I hit my head on the steering wheel, hit my head on my arm, went back and forth several times, ended up getting out and helping the people in the car behind me and getting another rush of adrenaline. So I really had no idea that my body hurt or my head hurt or anything was going on until the following day. When I was driving home from work, I was driving and I could barely turn my neck when I was looking from side to side. So I went to see a chiropractor, Dr. Garland at Healthy Living Chiropractic, and he was working on me, and he told me that I was really starting to show a lot of signs and symptoms of a concussion. And so he told me I needed to take at least a day or two off. So I did that, and when I was at home with my wife, she said she started to notice something was very wrong. I wasn't able to remember why I was going into the room I was going into. I couldn't conjure up any of the words that I wanted to use when I was talking. I didn't even know what I wanted to talk about half the time.
Wow.
I was extremely emotional, and I was, so for me it was, I wouldn't get sad very often, but I would get frustrated prior to the accident, or maybe angry if I couldn't control my emotions. But this was like immediate sadness. It was right after the accident. If there was any kind of emotion, it was sadness. I'd end up crying several times a day, and I was just an emotional wreck. I didn't know really what was going on. I was forgetting a lot of stuff. My wife and my friends would tell me that, you literally just asked me that 2 times in the last hour. And
wow.
So I knew something was going on, but I didn't know what.
Wow. So Dr. Garland referred you to Dr. Nelson.
He did.
That's wonderful.
He did.
And what are your first impressions of Dr. Nelson, working with him?
So I immediately was comfortable right away. As soon as I met Dr. Nelson, I just felt like I had somebody who understood far more than anybody else what I was going through, understood something that I was going through that I didn't even understand. And so my first impressions were just that he was a very knowledgeable person that was going to help me get back on my feet, and get out of my own way, essentially, because I had been going to work and telling myself everything was fine and that I needed to just get back to normal life. And Dr. Nelson came in and kind of just explained to me, here's exactly what you're dealing with, and here's why you shouldn't even be at work right now. Here's why you need to be recovering and getting your brain right. And that was very hard for me at first, but once he showed me exactly what I was dealing with, I was like, I basically surrendered and was like, okay, this is what I need.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
wow.
It was very, very good.
You're kind of answering my next question, which is, how has Dr. Nelson helped you through this process and just living your day-to-day life? So
that's the biggest thing he did for me, is he gave me a ton of tools. He isolated that I had dealt with some issues with the left hemisphere, my prefrontal cortex, and he explained what that regulates. And he gave me just a bag of tools to be able to say, okay, here's how you're going to stimulate that area. Here are the things that you can do on your own daily. And I ran with that. I was constantly doing things with my right hand, constantly keeping people on the right side of my vision. Wearing my orange sunglasses, that was pretty weird. Immediately put those on, and everything my brain just calmed down. Doing my figure eights. He just gave me so many things that allowed me to feel like, okay, now I'm in control of my recovery, and however I apply myself towards these tools is how quick I'm going to recover. And so he talked about self-empowering me from the get-go, and that's exactly what I felt like he did.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
So what would you share with the person that is seeking care with Dr. Nelson? What would you let them know about?
For somebody who's like...
Yeah, so a prospective patient of, seeking the care of...
I would say that, okay, so at first I told the chiropractic doctor, Dr. Garland, I said, no, I'm not going to see him. I'm doing fine. I'm doing a lot better. And that was because that I had gone a couple days of feeling like I wasn't off. And then when I finally just said, okay, I'll go, I learned how many ways that I was off. And then how many, I guess I would say that if you have any inkling to saying something seems off and something is wrong, then you better go see him, because I knew that there was something wrong. I didn't know how much was wrong, because now I feel like a totally different person, and I just started seeing him 2 weeks ago.
So this was life-changing for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I had been continuing to go to work and not working on any of these tools that he gave me, I would have further damaged my brain. I don't know how well I would have recovered. I was still an emotional wreck at work. I cried in front of some clients I was building a home for. All they did was say, how are you doing? And I just started crying, and I was like, I'm fine. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't feel anywhere near that now. So I would say if you have any thought that, okay, maybe something's wrong, but I can power through it.
Yeah.
I was the guy that thought I could power through it, and I could have pushed through it, but I would not have healed.
You wouldn't be what you are today.
No, and I mean 2 weeks ago.
And how many weeks? 2 weeks with Dr. Nelson?
2 weeks with Dr. Nelson. It was 5 weeks ago that I had the accident on the 21st.
That's wonderful. And you seem just very lit up and alive. Your eyes are vibrant, and
I feel
it's wonderful.
Night and day. I was talking to Dr. Nelson about it today, that he said, that he meets a shell of a person and then gets to truly experience who they are. Right? So when he told me that on my first visit, I was like, I'm not a shell of myself. I may have a few things, like I may be talking a little slower, I may be having a hard time conjuring up some of my words, but I'm not a shell. Now I look back and I'm like, I was a complete shell of myself. A complete shell. And I had no idea. And that's why it's like, okay, you better come do this if you have any idea that there's something wrong.
Yeah. Wow.
Especially pay attention to the cues of other people, because it was everybody else that I started to look at saying, like, there's something off, like you're not remembering that. And it was everybody else that I started to get the chiropractor telling me to go, my wife telling me to go. And then, because when you're in it, you don't know how much is wrong.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for your time and sharing this, and we really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. To learn more about Dr. Nelson and Concussion and Whiplash Clinic, you can visit us online at www.concussionpdx.com. Dr. Nelson is available for complimentary phone consultations with no obligation at 503-512-5359. Additionally, Dr. Nelson can be reached by email at info@concussionpdx.com. I want to thank you for joining us today. And as Dr. Nelson would say, go be well and thrive.